Howdy, ready to finish something off that's already been finished off? This is Dead Franchises. Alright, now where do we leave off? Well, can't remember. Starting from the top!
Alright, the Super Nintendo. One of the greatest consoles ever made, with some of the greatest games ever made. Super Mario World, Super Metroid, Super Castlevania, Mega Man X, and of course, F-Zero.
Yeah, I don't like F-Zero 1 that much.
Its visuals just don't hold up compared to other SNES launch titles. It looks a lot more like you're racing on one of those rugs that you'd see in the kiddie section of a library. The controls are complete ass, the D-pad is not good at precision, there's only like 4 cars, multiple repeated track themes, and some of them are back-to-back. Also, there's no multiplayer. This isn't the first game I'd recommend to newbies since it doesn't represent what F-Zero can be. However, I do respect it for what it did. It started my personal favorite Nintendo franchise, gave gamers an idea of what games could be like in 3D, and was the non-verbal fuck you to Sega.
The sequel, on the other hand...
Talk about a 180. Literally everything was improved. The 3D graphics allow for tracks to twist and spiral all around. The controls are near perfect thanks to the accuracy of an analog stick. There's way more cars. The music is absolutely wonderful. It fixed multiplayer by having multiplayer, and the expansion pack allows you to create your own tracks and cars, on top of adding 2 new cups. So...
where do we go from here?
F-Zero X was such a drastic improvement from the first game that making a proper sequel to it was definitely going to be a challenge. The only thing Nintendo could do is the same exact thing, but better. After the N64's less than stellar performance sales-wise, Nintendo was preparing games for their next big system, the GameCube, that was sure to be a success. Shut up. Yeah, the GameCube wasn't doing too hot since it was diagnosed with competing against the PS2-itis. But it's not like GameCube owners didn't have a whole lot to play. There were 2 Mario games in the forms of Luigi's Mansion and Mario Sunshine. Mario Party 4 was a nice little distraction. Resident Evil had 2 releases at this point, so there was definitely a wide variety of stuff to play. It's not like Nintendo didn't want to release more games for the thing. They were definitely trying, but their biggest roadblock right now was third-party support. There just wasn't enough to make the GameCube a bigger success, so Nintendo was left having to give players games to play. That is until Sega and Namco approached Nintendo with an interesting idea. See, Sega and Namco had noticed that the GameCube's architecture was great for the arcade scene since the system was rocking that much horsepower at the time. The 2 companies wanted to partner with Nintendo to release both GameCube games and arcade games based on Nintendo franchises using the GameCube specs. Nintendo approved of the idea, and so the arcade board going under the codename Triforce was born. Of course, they needed a game so that they could put this board to good use, so the F-Zero franchise was chosen as the first game to be released with the Triforce arcade board in mind. Nintendo partnered up with Sega subsidiary Amusement Visions, and official production on the game began. AV had previously worked on Super Monkey Ball, and decided to use a heavily modified version of that game's engine for F-Zero.
Monkeys inside balls and high-speed race cars. Goes together like broccoli and chocolate.
F-Zero GX was shown off at E3 for the first time on May 21st, 2002. The game was known to exist prior to the E3 showcase, but that was only behind closed doors. The game was then delayed by 2 months in March of 2003. When the game was delayed, co-producer Shigeru Miyamoto and Toshihiro Nagoshi alongside Takaya Imamura answered a few questions regarding the 2 F-Zero games. Nagoshi stated that had they had the time, he would have liked to incorporate land play into F-Zero GX, similar to what Mario Kart Double Dash had. That would have been really f***ing cool, but unfortunately the developers didn't have the time to implement this feature and mainly wanted to focus on single-player aspects of the game. Since GX and AX were being developed alongside one another, Nintendo was obviously going to find a way to make the 2 games interact. Once AX was released, players who owned a copy of GX could go to the machines with their memory card in hand and put it into the cabinet, allowing them to play as one of their custom cars in AX. That's fundamentally all you get, but it's a nice feature nonetheless. Well, there's not much else to do regarding F-Zero GX except play the damn thing, so here goes. So, why don't we go over the things I liked? For starters, wow, this game looks leagues better than X. X was good for what it was, but this is better than good. Look at these tracks, they're brimming with detail. Every little nook and cranny was filled with something to make the tracks look more visibly appealing, and the best part of it all, it's never distracting. I can drive through these with 0 problems, and the cars. Good God, they have never looked better. Before they looked like Hot Wheels, but now they actually look like real future cars gliding through the air. I love almost everything about this game's visuals. They are fantastic. Even if we don't get a new game on Switch, an HD re-release would look perfectly adequate. The gameplay. GX is absolutely the best playing game out of the entire series. Turning is so buttery smooth. I'm in complete control here when I'm playing. Any f*** up is just me not playing well. Adjusting how the cars handle returns from X, and it has been improved by tenfold. First off, this slider does a better job at showing how the cars will perform compared to just sliding this little arrow around and hoping for the best. Second, I actually noticed a change in the car's handling afterwards. Before, it was, do you want the car to start off slow or fast? Here, the turning can actually be completely different. Going for acceleration can make the turning more slippery, which is great for tracks with several tight corners, and when you're cranking it all the way up to max speed, the car will start slower, yes, but turning will be much sharper, making those tracks with pipes on them more doable, and the car will move slightly faster. The sound design and music? Literally perfect. The car's engines sound great, and getting a boost feels even better with that crunchy sound effect playing every time. The music is kind of a mix for me. I enjoy X's tracks just as much, and I kind of flip-flop back and forth between the two. Just depends on what mood I'm in. Just like before, the selection of cars is still pretty good. The Red Gazelle is still my favorite, but the Dark Schneider is a close second, and the Silver Rat takes the place of the Fire Stingray as my main. The Rainbow Phoenix is great for tracks filled to the brim with corners since it's got loose handling, and the Blue Falcon is very well rounded and great for beginners. The tracks themselves are the cream of the crop when it comes down to F-Zero. Some of Nintendo's best work. They're much harder, far more intelligent when it comes down to utilizing the concept of zero-gravity cars, blowing Mario Kart 8 out of the fucking water. There are no legitimately bad tracks in this game, just really frustrating ones.
So far, F-Zero GX is a pretty solid package. Also, fun fact about me, whenever I'm home alone and I'm incredibly angry, I tend to brush my teeth. Violently.
The car creator from the expansion kit comes back, and it's fundamentally the exact same thing. It's not terrible, but I would have preferred the track creator making a return. I see the appeal of making my own car, but it just boils down to making an assortment of predetermined car parts and then painting them. You can make your own emblem, which is neat. I get why the track creator didn't make a return for this game. The tracks are way more complex than before with all these background details and loops and twists and turns, and it's already difficult enough to use the track creator on the expansion kit. Plus, the game already has enough tracks to satisfy you for a long time, so there's really no need to have it. Of course, the Grand Prix is here in full force, and it's exactly what you'd expect from an F-Zero game. Fucking hard. Getting the stars is just as comfortable as before. Winning the Grand Prix on higher difficulties nets you the unlockables from the lower difficulties, and winning the Grand Prix is hilarious because the character you chose gets an interview and you can choose what question the reporter will ask the character. It's great. New to F-Zero is the story mode. Seems interesting, F-Zero's always had pretty fun lore, so it'd be great to see that expanded upon.
Honestly, it could have been worse.
It was also kind of annoying. The story mode isn't filled with a whole lot of racing. Most of the stuff you're doing are little challenges like collecting capsules, escaping power plants before they explode, slaughtering a gang. There is a confrontation with Garo, which is beautiful.
You stole the prize money from us last time. You will pay for that.
The actual story is really simple. A supervillain named Deathborn is forcing another supervillain named Black Shadow to win the next F-Zero Grand Prix or else he'll break his car. In response, Black Shadow attempts to eliminate all of his competition through terrorist attacks, but the racer he wants to take out the most is everyone's favorite Super Smash Bros. Character, Captain Falcon.
You're not alone, I was pretty shocked by his cameo too.
After seeing this, our hero with absolutely no ass makes it his goal to stop Black Shadow before his destruction spreads across the galaxy. The story is a lot more like a Saturday morning cartoon. It doesn't really expand upon the F-Zero universe, but it gets the job done. It's also cheesy as f***. Watch this.
What a scam!
Once again, Black Shadow is running riot in the lightning area. All citizens are advised to evacuate immediately.
This can't be. How can I lose? Falcon, I'm gonna get you in the Grand Prix.
Overall, the story mode isn't something you need to play to fully enjoy F-Zero GX. Its inclusion is kinda like me at a party.
I know I've already talked about how much I love the tracks and that there's no real bad ones, but I would still like to go through each individual cup and give my opinion on the tracks, so here we go.
Starting off with the Ruby Cup, we were greeted to this game's version of Mute City, and wow, this track actually has a name instead of a number. This variation of Mute City is the perfect track to start off with. Good amount of speed, good amount of challenge, just enough to be satisfying. Casino Palace is like Silence from the last game, a giant circle with so many boost pads. It's great. Sand Ocean has a lot of indents in the track to make it a little more difficult. That's all I got, there's not much to this one. Lightning. This track is huge, so it can be a little draining after a while, but it's still really fun. Aeropolis is the best. Sharp turns, jumps, and boost pads makes this one an absolute joy to race through. Next is a Sapphire Cup, and hello Big Blue, it's been too long. This track has moments where you're going underwater. Here's Port Town, and hi Rob! This one is just awesome. It feels like you're going through a roller coaster, which is when F-Zero tracks are at their best. Green Plant is another oval, but it manages to spice things up a bit by twisting the track in ways that make it difficult to take turns or get to healing pads efficiently. Port Town. Again. To be fair, this one is a pipe, and it's okay. Anyone want some more Mute City? This track is so much harder than the first variation of Mute City. So hard, in fact, that I fell through the floor. This is a good track overall, but not my favorite. Here's the Emerald Cup, and hello bullshit, it's been a while. I hate these tracks where you have to drive outside of the tube. Inside is one thing, but shit like this just drives me up a fucking wall. I can't tell where the boost pads are, I get disoriented real quick, and I'm not having a good time here, man. Here's Green Plant again. Well, that's one way to realize my worth. In all seriousness, though, I do like this track. It's way more fun than the previous headache I just endured. Here's another variation on Casino Palace, and that's really fucking cool. Yeah, stuff like this happened in F-Zero X, but the cars were never this close to one another. Lightning gets another track here, and it's a half-pipe. This was such a good time, easily the best track in this cup. Now we got the Diamond Cup, and this is a damn fine track, and also a pain in the ass. Cosmo Terminal has several branching paths leading to boost pads and healing pads. However, none of these paths have guardrails, so falling off is really easy, and then there's this huge jump, which is just another opportunity to die. Sand Ocean once more, this incarnation has sudden turns, and if you're not paying attention, that happens. I love this version of Firefield. It's such a loopy, bumpy track with great opportunities to use these ramps for more speed. Aeropolis returns, and this version is kick-ass. It has these two huge jumps, but what's fun about this track is if you have enough speed, you can land on these other ramps hovering in the air and use those to get ahead of everybody else. Phantom Line, a discount rainbow road and significantly harder than an average one. Narrow roads, hard to reach healing pads, and risky opportunities to boost make this one of my favorite tracks in the game. Finally, we have the AX Cup, which consists of tracks from the arcade counterpart. First up, we got another version of Aeropolis, not as fun as the Diamond Cup's version, but still a solid track. Outer Space, dude, this was fucking great. There's these tunnels filled with ice, making it difficult to drive through, but once you get the hang of this, it's such a great time. Port Town, this one is another long cylinder. It's not nearly as bad as Firefield. I have a much easier time getting to the boost pads, which means I actually enjoyed this one. Lightning is up next, and this course is so damn long. It's filled with all these sharp turns, so a car with loose handling like the Rainbow Phoenix is perfect here. Lastly, we got Green Plant. This one is so much fun. You drive through a normal road, then loop back through the same road on a tube from above that you just saw.
Yeah, F-Zero X had good tracks, but it felt more like a stepping stone on the way to this. This is just so much better. I've never seen another game replicate this, and it's a shame because these track designs are great. They even encourage experimentation with the different cars and settings to see what works best. But of course the game doesn't just give you all these tracks, cars, and cups, you have to unlock them first, so here's the big question. Does F-Zero GX handle the unlockables as well as F-Zero X? Here's the short answer.
What the f*** happened here? In F-Zero X, the unlockables were handled so well. In that game, you had to complete the cups on certain difficulties to unlock new cups and cars. I'm inclined to mention that you didn't have to unlock each car one at a time, they just gave you a whole row of cars. Also, if you didn't feel like doing any of that, the game just had a code to let you unlock everything. GX decides the best way to improve the unlockables is to shit. Every time you finish the Grand Prix, you're awarded with tokens. These tokens can be exchanged for car parts, music, and, you guessed it, cars. The car parts and music is something I can deal with. They're side content that doesn't really hurt the overall experience. But why the actual cars? A game with a similar system is Gundam vs. Zeta Gundam. In this game, you can purchase mobile suit bios, music, cutscenes, and way more. But none of this is really mandatory. You unlock the other mobile suits separately through the arcade or story modes. These little bios are nothing more than just that, descriptions of the suits. You don't have to touch any of this at all to fully enjoy the game. If GX handled the unlockables like this, where you don't need the shop to get all the cars, then that would be fine. Having to slowly unlock everything in a multiplayer-oriented game is complete bullshit. Unlocking all these cars and tracks should be quick and simple, but also satisfying, and if a person playing on their own wants to unlock all this cute little side content, then that's totally fine.
But does this hurt the overall product? Nah. Yeah, I would have preferred the unlockables be handled in the same way as X, but I'm not gonna lose more sleep over it. The important thing to note is that the game is fun, no matter how tedious the unlockables are. It's fun to master all the tracks, it's fun to experiment with the different cars, it's fun to make different cars, and yeah, the story mode is cheesy, but you can't not have a good time playing it. This is the definitive F-Zero experience. It nails everything it sets out to do and is what F-Zero was always meant to be. But I hate that this game single-handedly killed the franchise. After this game's release, Nintendo wasn't really sure where to take F-Zero. They approached Criterion, the makers of the Burnout franchise, and proposed the idea of them making a brand new game, but they couldn't at the time. Which is a shame, because that would have been awesome. I think an HD re-release, or at least a collection of F-Zero games on the Switch, would work great. Just imagine F-Zero, Broadcast Satellite F-Zero Grand Prix, F-Zero X, and F-Zero X's expansion kit alongside GX all wrapped in one nice little package for the Switch. A release on the Wii U could have done what Mario Kart 8 did and put the map on the gamepad. Yeah, that's all I got. But above all else, I'm kinda glad we never got an F-Zero game on the Wii. Oh god, just imagine what that would have looked like.